Welcome to Experience Counts. I'm your host, PC Nguyen.
Let's begin now.
Experience Counts is a podcast covering the trends and innovations happening in experiential retail. By day, I'm a brand and innovation strategist and run my own consultancy called Totem. I help brands align their business strategies around emerging consumer behaviors to help them anticipate what's coming next. I'm bringing those insights to you. I'm speaking to the big movers and shakers in the retail industry, as well as up-and-comers, all from the Philadelphia area. We have a really great episode for you today. We paid a visit to Rikumo in Center City. They're a Japanese goods retailer. The marketing director, Sam Gean, tells us how they've turned their brick-and-mortar store into a fully immersive destination that touches on all of the senses.
Yeah, so this is probably our most widely available line. And this is actually a Morihata brand as well. So this is definitely the one that helped most people find the last one. This is blowing up because
So we're here inside Rikumo today with Sam Gean, the marketing director. Thank you so much for having us at the store.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for coming.
This is such a beautiful, peaceful place. I just want to spend my whole day here, maybe even sleep here. If you guys have a little cot in the back I can set up.
You're always welcome.
So tell us about Rikumo, the history and brand.
Sure. This will come to a surprise to most people that know Rikumo as our retail store, but we actually have a whole nother side of our business, which is called Morihata, which kind of powers everything. And Morihata is essentially like our wholesale importing distributing arm. And it was actually what we started with back in 2005. So our founders, Kaz and Yuka Morihata, came to Philadelphia from Japan. They came here originally for school, and in 2005 started Morihata, basically because they really just wanted some of the products that they had grown up with back home in Philadelphia in the United States, and they saw a market for it. So I think it all happened fairly serendipitously, but essentially they began with a small handful of different brands and manufacturers in Japan and introduced them to the United States. And that kind of started everything. So that, I would say, is probably the larger side of our business. And in 2009, Rikumo was created as kind of our retail lifestyle arm of the brand, with the idea being that we could sell all of the products that we were bringing in to the market, and also a much more wider and diverse selection of Japanese designs.
So this store acts as a showcase for all of what you guys are selling wholesale.
Exactly. Yep. So anything we bring in wholesale, you can find in the store. So those are kind of the product lines that people who maybe have visited our store several times will notice are just kind of constants. So they would be things like our tea line, which is entirely our own brand, our Binchotan charcoal line, which is very popular for us. We're very big in Japanese towels, which are kind of a whole category in and of themselves. And we like to think that we kind of help create a market and a real appreciation for these textiles in America. Yeah, that's kind of like our bread and butter is our wholesale products. So we like to make sure that we're also selling these to other brands and retailers that many of your listeners might be familiar with, but really trying to give them the best possible light in our retail store, because we feel as a company that really focuses on Japanese design that we can tell this story and showcase these products honestly maybe a little better than some other brands.
And I'm glad you brought up the whole storytelling aspect, because when you walk into the store, that's what you get immediately. You sort of get this experience, as you move from one space to another through the store. I know that's a very deliberate design, seeing that you guys are so focused on every aspect of how the store is laid out. Could you talk to us about how this in-store experience is designed?
Yeah, of course. And I have to say, we were actually really amazed when you reached out, because when we learned about what you were up to in this project, we thought it was like perfect for us, because experience is really everything for us. Totally. I think that goes for a lot of retailers, but we really make it a challenge to take it to heart and try and elevate that as much as possible. The store design itself was a labor of love. In fact, everyone in the company actually got their hands dirty and built like the fixtures, and everything was completely done in-house. And for the most part, it was designed internally as well. Kaz, one of our founders, is actually has an architecture background, so he's always drawing up diagrams and having ideas about what he wants to change and what he wants to add, and designs everything for us. But in terms of the store design, there were a couple kind of key points that were definitely thought about when we laid everything out. So when you enter the store, one of the first things that you'll experience is our scent, which is a very traditional Japanese cedar wood, which is called hinoki. And anyone who's familiar with Japanese culture most likely knows the smell very well, even if you don't know the name, because it shows up in a lot of bathhouses and a lot of bath products, temples. It's just a really common wood that was used to build a lot of older style buildings in Japan.
And I think that's the thing that puts you at ease as soon as you walk in from this busy street, from Walnut.
Yeah, definitely. And it really is that bathhouse kind of connection with hinoki definitely helps to create more of a relaxing ambiance, which is what we're all about. We're all about hospitality. That's like our entire game. The second thing I would say that they notice is our reflecting pool. So in the front of our store, we have a kind of a constant design element of some flowing water, which actually has some of our Binchoten charcoal in there as well, kind of filters it out a little bit. That kind of draws from, the significance of water in Japanese culture and specifically Japanese gardens. Any Japanese garden has to have some sort of water element to it. It's just part of the whole philosophy behind it. So that's kind of the front area. We obviously have our main shopping zone, which is where all of our retail products are laid out and displayed. The other unique thing that we have is our tea bar, which is situated pretty much right in the middle of the store, that has everything we need to make tea constantly. So as I mentioned, we have our own tea line. As part of our attention to hospitality, we want every single person that comes into our store to feel like an honored guest. So we're really known for our practice of giving our customers a complimentary cup of green tea. So not only is it a good way for them to sample our tea, but it's also a very respectful way to show them that we appreciate their business. And, there's no strings attached. It's just a nice warm cup of tea. We do iced in the summertime as well. And then the back area is where we have a long table set up, which we like to encourage people, even if they're not going to shop with us, to just come pick up a book from our library. We have a library of art books and Japanese culture books that are on display that are not for sale, and they're just there for people to peruse and just spend an afternoon with us. We also use this space for our workshop programming as well, which is a big component of our store.
So can you talk to us about the workshop program? I know you have different events here, and I've seen a couple of them.
Yeah.
Could you kind of go into sort of the types of events you have? How do you pick them?
So we, for the most part, offer workshops on a monthly basis. There are some times where we have a few gaps, when other priorities come up. But we've really done kind of a little bit of everything. Being a Japanese design store, we try to have everything have somewhat of a Japanese bend to it, whether it's a cultural thing or if it's like a hands-on workshop, for example. Like we've done a lot of traditional Japanese handicraft workshops, things like shibori dyeing with indigo. We had a really amazing event with a natural dye expert. Graham Keegan came, and he is a kind of an expert on natural dyes. And he did this really amazing workshop where everyone who came in got a complimentary piece of indigo plant, so actual Japanese indigo. We've done a lot of things with local and outside artists that are maybe not Japanese inspired. Every year we like to do a Design Philadelphia event, which is the big design festival in Philly. This past year we had one with an artist, Carla Weeks, which was really nice. We did some hands-on block printing. So the only Japanese angle was the fact that we were doing them on furoshiki fabric. We've had exhibitions, we've had launch parties, movie viewings, you name it. And we have all of the recaps and everything posted on our blog.
So the website, The Strategist, which culls a lot of really great products, and they feature a lot of them. So they put you in their actual pop-up store during the holidays. I love The Strategist, and I think this was in Soho in New York, right?
Yep, November to December.
I'm just curious, you guys are so deliberate about, how the product is displayed in the store. So what happens when your product goes into the hands of someone else? Obviously, you specialize as working, as a wholesaler, and you work so hard
to position a product in a certain way, but you kind of don't have that control anymore once it leaves. So what's that experience like?
So part of the challenge is telling the Morihata story when all of the products are so different from one another. The strategist was really great about it because they've written about some of our products in the past. They had a week-long, or I think it was kind of a little special program that they did, I think, last year, all about Japanese design. So I think that's kind of how we came to know of each other. And so they invited us to participate in their I Found It at the Strategist pop-up experience in Soho, which ran from November to December through the holidays. They were really great about it because we obviously are just kind of giving a product for them to display and kind of relying on their salespeople to tell the story that is behind every product. But before the pop-up actually opened, we had kind of like an info session where we actually did a little web conference with their salespeople and went over like the finer details about how is Binchotan charcoal made. Well, it's this traditional thing that they've done since the Edo period in traditional kilns.
Well, going deep.
Yeah, so we went soup to nuts and kind of talked about everything. So they were really great about understanding that story because, yeah, you really have to know the background to sell well.
I'd like to go back and kind of unpack a little bit sort of this, obviously everything here is very focused Japanese. And you said, the events are not necessarily always super connected to Japan. So I'd like to ask you, how do you bring the two worlds together? Being in Philly, it's obviously an American culture and you're trying to introduce another culture without making it too much of a novelty, which I think sometimes these things fall into. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you asked that because that's another thing that we focus on a lot. So being that we're really focused on Japanese design, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword because sure, all of our products are made in Japan. They're very, Japanese inspired. And some of our things that we carry are very particularly Japanese, such as a matcha bowl. By all accounts, it's a bowl and you could use it for whatever, but the specific intention is for matcha, which, maybe not everyone is so into.
Sure.
But beyond that, everything we sell is simply just a product and, a well-made product. And I think a lot of people that are not familiar with our brand just assume that we're like from Japan or something, but we're entirely Philadelphia based. We were started here. All of our employees work here. And so as a retailer, it's kind of like an uphill battle to, present this Japanese product, but also cater towards a Western taste. Kind of a little, trade secret is we actually, as a rule, try not to say the word Japan very much in any of our marketing or copywriting because we don't want it to be all about the fact that this is from Japan. Obviously, we love that they're from Japan. We really believe in the product. And speaking of stories, there's a story behind everything, whether it's a cultural significance, whether it's the manufacturer or the craftsperson who literally, has been doing the same thing for, 20 years. Last year, I want to say in October, we launched a line of matcha bowls, actually, that were done by a ceramic artist, Romy Northover, who lives in New York. And she is, I think, from England originally and lives in New York. So she has no real association with Japan, except for the fact that her work is very much inspired by wabi-sabi and, these Japanese aesthetic concepts and ideas. So that was a really fun way for us to work with outside artists. That's the kind of stuff that we really love. It's like the interconnectedness and just how Japanese culture and really just the attention to detail and the ideas about aesthetic and philosophy, how those can influence so many different things.
Yeah, I think definitely the overarching theme when I walk in is like the appreciation of design value, and that can be across any cultures, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
And I think to that end, like, I came in and picked up your city guide, your printed city guide, which, anybody can come in and grab this this beautifully printed piece that has a lot of the stores and cafes that you guys really love, right? That kind of share sort of your design values and other things. Could you go into why you produce that? Yeah.
And I'm glad that you enjoy that. I know you're new to Philadelphia, so hopefully you find it helpful.
I love it.
But that project, we sent that out and made the city guide over the summer. And the idea behind it was to kind of remind people that we're a Philly-based company. Again, like a lot of people just assume that we're some outside company and that we have lots of locations, but we just have one. We're a small company. I think we have about 15 people now. So as Philadelphians, we also have an extreme amount of pride for our city. There is a design culture here, which I think a lot of people aren't really familiar with. There's a real history of design and manufacturing and inspiration that comes from Philadelphia. It was, obviously the history of Philadelphia is really important in the history of America, not to mention other kind of design ideals that, personally, I can say myself and a lot of people within the company are kind of inspired by things like the Shakers and, kind of the work that they were doing. So the city guide was essentially crowdsourced amongst all of our employees. We had like this huge list of all the things that, if you were coming to Philadelphia for the first time, what would we want you to know about first? So the idea was to encourage people, because we get a lot of visitors and tourists who are maybe just in the city for a weekend. So we made that to help encourage them to discover some of the other great things about Philly.
Yeah, and you get it when you start visiting a lot of these places, like especially one after the other, you understand what you're getting across. You're experiencing your brand through the city, which is like an incredible kind of like cool thing.
Yeah, and some of the shops on there, I wouldn't say are necessarily known as like very design centric or, have much of an aesthetic leaning, but they're just places that we feel really make Philadelphia a beautiful place and kind of celebrate the work that a lot of entrepreneurial people are doing and a lot of our friends who are small businesses and shops and trying to encourage that.
So cool. So cool. How is tech and digital part of the in-store experience? And this even extends to like social media. You guys have such a presence here. How do you extend that presence somewhere else?
Yeah, I will say, as a retail store, and especially speaking about experience, I think the retail is in a very tough place with the age of Amazon. It's very real. And I think, the convenience factor is obviously a big part of why Amazon and other, big e-commerce players have really taken off, is because, we all love convenience, myself included. I shop with Amazon, even though I'm conflicted about it sometimes.
Me too.
Yeah, it's unavoidable. But really what I feel like what Amazon has done was unique is that they just made it extremely convenient. The algorithmic product recommendations, it's really a kind of grown into this beast, factored in with, obviously they have really good logistic capabilities, which I don't know if maybe we would be able to compete with. So I feel like a lot of smaller retailers and shops have noticed that in order to be competitive and compelling in the retail marketplace, you do have to focus on experience. So I will say that, experiential design and ideas for retail is not really a unique thing. I know a lot of brands are focusing on this now. Where I kind of feel like the next trend is going to be is more into tech and kind of thinking about how technology influences your customers, what that experience is like outside of your brick and mortar experience. We see that a lot with certain retailers like Bonobos or
Everlane.
Yeah, Everlane. Yeah, the showroom kind of model. Maybe you don't really carry a large inventory.
Yeah.
Everything is kind of made to order. That personalization trend is really big. So yeah, it's impossible to ignore the tech implications. That's one area that I think we definitely want to try and improve upon. As a small business, it's kind of a challenge to really do something cutting edge without like a big development team and coders and all that kind of crazy stuff.
What I'm seeing as a really big trend for next year, it's obviously storytelling is so important, but using platforms in a new way to help get a brand story across. Oh, yeah. So looking at, obviously Instagram is big and it's going to continue to be big. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's seeing its death anytime soon. How are you guys leveraging these platforms for people who aren't able to come to the store, who are not be able to talk to one of your customer associates to understand the story behind the tea that you sell?
One area of a lot of attention for us is our online store. So Rikumo.com, you can find all of our products. We try as much as possible to make it as convenient and easily shoppable. We spend a ton of time and effort on, high quality photography, compelling copy, really trying to tell the story. In fact, our kind of model for copy is we always, after we're done describing a product, we'll have a section below specifically about something unique or something bigger and outside of the product. So if it's, particular style of ceramic, we'll have a small paragraph that we write just about the significance of that one style of ceramic or that one town in Japan that's known for making this one type of product, or you name it. But it's basically just like a little add-on because that's part of the storytelling that we really want to convey. And there really is a story behind every single product. Social media, if you're a brand, you have to be there. This is where people are. It's where we spend our time. It's a great way to connect with people. It's immediate, so you can show people exactly what you're up to at any given time. Things like Instagram stories are really great for that. So we don't do it a ton, but from time to time, if we'll get a new restock of a product that we know a significant number of people are interested and have been waiting for, or if it's a very high lead time artist that we work with and we get a very small, we're talking like 4 pieces, we'll sometimes like post that up on our Instagram story, and it's amazing to see the response because people just go on their phone and they say, hey, that product that I've been waiting for is there. So it's been really good for us in those terms. And going back to the storytelling, our Instagram and in our bio right now, we state that we are storytellers. It's like it was important enough to us to put into our Instagram bio. And the reason for that is we want our Instagram to be more than just us selling you product. We want it to be informational. We want it to be inspirational. So we'll often post a lot of Japanese design that inspires us, things outside our realm like architecture. And
you're just not promoting only your products over and over again.
Yeah, because nobody really wants to see that. They don't. It's an honor for somebody to take the effort to say follow and welcome us into their daily stream. So we want to make sure that we're respecting that and putting out quality content. We have an on-staff photographer, so we're always shooting. We're always basically just trying to elevate what it means to be a retailer, also on social media as well as in the store.
And beyond sort of the tech digital part, what other emerging consumer behaviors are you seeing out there that you're really inspired by that you would love to incorporate eventually into Rikumo?
Emerging consumer behaviors?
Yeah. Any sort of new trends that you're seeing rolling out for 2019?
Yeah, I think, luckily for us, Japanese design is becoming a lot more well-known and appreciated in at least America. So this is obviously good for us because I think Japanese products have always been synonymous with quality. It's just a different way of producing, and the culture there is such that you'll have one person dedicating their entire life to making one thing perfect. And that's what we really love. And that's what we really try to kind of bring into the store is that level of attention to detail. Luckily, I think that's being a lot more, appreciated in the West. And I think especially as kind of a clash to, consumerism, which I think we need to all take a moment to just appreciate that is kind of a problem. And especially given the trend of how the world is going and ecological things aside, we are a very wasteful society and culture. Just, internationally, I think everyone's become so accustomed to the convenience of throwaway items and planned obsolescence and things like that. Our products, another angle that we take is, yes, for the most part, they're a little bit more highly priced. A lot of that has to do with the fact that we're importing them, that, they're handmade. But it's also something that we think and we know is going to outlive a similar product that you could get at, IKEA or whatever the case may be. Not to throw any shade.
Right.
But, these are heirloom quality things that should bring joy into your life. And if you bring them into your home, we want it to be something that you'll always remember that time you came into the store and you found the perfect thing and you brought it home. That's really kind of our favorite kind of customer. So I think the trend of people really starting to appreciate this and live a more slow lifestyle and a more methodical and thought out lifestyle is something that I hope to see more of.
So for the last question, we always like for our guests to plug whatever they want. Do you want to talk about any events that you have coming up for the year? Let us know where we can find you online and in real life.
Yeah, of course. So I guess I would say, please come visit. We'd love to have you. Our door is always open, except for when we're closed.
Yeah, come for tea.
Yeah, come grab a cup of tea, read a book, say hi to the team. We're located at 1216 Walnut Street, right in downtown Philadelphia. If you're not near, please visit our website where you can find all of our products. We take a lot of attention in the packaging and everything. We try and bring that experience also to our packing and shipping. In terms of workshops, you can find them all posted on our blog. So we run a blog. It's called the Rikumo Journal, where we talk about things from Japanese design, our inspirations. We do recipes. Like, it's our baby. We spend a lot of time on that. So definitely check that out. And you can find our calendar of events there. And in general, yeah, we hope to see you.
Thank you for being our guest on the show today and sort of sharing all these great insights. I think we've really learned a lot about the in-store experience and sort of like how you guys are tapping into sort of everything that's going on to help push what you're doing. I think it's really great.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to hear all the episodes. As a little insider info, we're going to be bringing in a lot more essential oils, probably within a month or so.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a whole line that we found that's some of the best essential oils. Yeah.
Amazing. And not the typical.
Some of them are a little bit more traditional, like lavender.
If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe to Experience Counts. We have some really terrific guests shining the light on different aspects of retail experiences, and there's going to be something new for everyone. Please go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you find your favorite shows to give us a review so that we can get recommended to more people. Experience Counts is a production of the Enterprise Center's Grit Studios, which provides resources for minority entrepreneurs in Philly and the surrounding region. Also go to the Enterprise Center's LinkedIn page so you don't miss out on announcements of our next episodes. And from there, you can share them with your friends and colleagues.